Good afternoon. Welcome to the second part of our self-esteem development, empowering your self-esteem. My name is Berak Hussain. I'm a registered psychotherapist and the international student counselor at the Health and Counseling Services at Carleton University. Again, welcome to part 2 of our series today, where we're going to be taking a look at how to learn to love yourself and looking and exploring at all the different aspects of what love could mean, whether it's from yourself, whether it's from the environment around you and the people all around you, and how that contributes to developing how to love yourself. So let's get started. Last time we looked at what self-esteem is, how it develops, concepts related to it. We looked at strategies such as cognitive behavioral therapy strategies in terms of how to recognize and replace self-defeating thoughts. We looked at how certain uh, words of affirmation of self-esteem can really empower. And my favorite one, of course, was all men are alike while asleep. So let's jump right into it. I'm going to be sharing again the presentation that we started off with last week, and we're going to continue with that today with this second part on empowering your self-esteem through love. All right. So again, like we said last week, we took a look at this great book that we're using here from all these concepts. So the Self-Esteem Workbook by Dr. Glenn Schiraldi. And we're going to continue today, and I'm going to be using the book quite a bit today with these concepts. So bear with me as I juggle the technology here along with everything else, making sure that it all makes sense. Now, also, please, while we are watching this program and doing this together, you can please send in your comments and questions, and we can be very interactive while we go along with that, because there are some great activities we're going to be taking a look at today. So again, bear with me as I'm using this book here as we go through it and using the slides as we go along. All right. Forgot how I did this last time, but we'll manage. So let's just get the screen up here again for our slides so I can go through them. There we go. All right. All right, so some of the things we're going to cover today, take a look at understanding the basics parts of what unconditional love is all about. We're going to take a look at, so it already jumped the screen, so let's go back. So we're going to take a looking at how to find, how to love, and how to heal that core self of ourselves. We're going to take a look at the language of love as well. We're going to take a look at the good opinions of others and how that can influence us. We're going to take a look at acknowledging and accepting positive qualities, cultivating body appreciation, reinforce and strengthen body appreciation, assert self-love and appreciation, the eyes of love meditation, and looking the face in the mirror. So I'm going to be doing quite a few activities today. So grab yourself a cup of coffee or tea and your notes. And if you've got this book, then you can follow along as well as we go through it. And we'll be doing some meditations as well with some really beautiful relaxation sounds. So let's get started. So when we take a look at the basics of unconditional love, there's a lot to be said around that. It takes a look at the understanding that we have been created to love and be loved, right? And the need of affirming always comes from the feeling that to feel like we are somebody of worth. And this was something that we spoke about last time in quite a bit of detail, right? So when we have this need to feel that we are of worth, it comes from different sources around us, right? So for example, when we take a look at Mother Teresa, right, and what she did for people, it didn't matter who she gave that love to. It was somebody from a city in this place of the world or this. What we saw is that when you looked into her eyes, right, we felt that there was a great love coming from them. And they didn't look away. And so they became calmer and their countenance became softer. So when she spoke with people, she influenced them through the love like that, right? So they didn't think of what kind of love was this? Where is it coming from? They simply recognized love and responded to it. And they felt it by the way that she looked at them, how she spoke with them, and how she touched them. So when we take a look at the basic principles of love, right, we need to understand that each person has been created, again, like we said, to love and be loved, just how we see with Mother Teresa, right? And each person needs that affirmation, right, to feel like they are worthy. So everybody needs a source to affirm that they are loved, accepted, and that they are worthwhile. So, as the psychologist Abraham Maslow, whom we took a look at last time, the hierarchy of needs, he says that the love for need characterizes every human being that is born. No psychological health is possible unless the essential core is accepted, loved, and respected. So we said love is important. If you have not received it from others, it is good to provide yourself. And we'll take a look at how to do that, because we see a lot of people who struggle with finding love from somewhere else, being accepted. But there's a way of finding it and building it from yourself as well, right? So let's take a look at this idea of what is this love, right? So it's helpful to have that understanding of the nature of love, which is the second factor of self-esteem and that building block, right? So love could be described as, Dr. Sharaldi says, a feeling that you experience. One recognizes it and one sees it. It's an attitude. Love wants what is best for the loved one in each moment, right? And it's a decision and a commitment that you make every day. Sometimes you will it, even though it may be difficult in times. And it's a skill that can also be cultivated, right? Some mistakenly assume that love and related feelings like appreciation, acceptance, and affection are only feelings that we either have or we don't. Although anyone can recognize and respond to the love, loving is something that we actually learn to do, right? So you remember Mr. Rogers from TV, he demonstrated unconditional love daily as he told children, I like you just the way you are. And he sang the songs, and look at the words and the message on there, that when he takes a look at separating worth from the externals, which is something we took out last time. He says, it's you I like. It's not the things you wear. It's not the way you do your hair, but it's you I like. The way you are right now, the way deep down inside you, not the things that hide you. And it's so beautiful. It has the story of Mr. Rogers. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but he was a very sickly child. He was confined, especially during ragweed season, into the only room in his house with an air conditioner. At 8 years, he would visit his grandmother's farm, and he rejoiced as he ran along the stone walls of the farm. And afterwards, his grandfather told him, you made this day special by being yourself. Remember, there's just one person in the world like you, and I like you just the way you are. So he got this from his grandfather. It's a beautiful story that demonstrates that we each stand on the shoulders of those who have gone before us, and that loving unconditionally is learned. As you see here, how he learned this from his grandfather. So let's take a look at in terms of how we find love, right? So there are these sources of love that we take a look at here from either our parents, self, or significant others, right? These are the main sources that we take a look at. And it's really important when we take a look at, for example, from a spiritual or theological point of view, from a divine love, right? And so most theologies teach that God's love is the unconditional, a gift of grace, always accessible, and the securest foundation for growth. And this is a spiritual foundation that can be absolutely useful. Although the exploration of God is far beyond the scope of what the book has presented, but also this presentation, I really wanted to bring it up here to emphasize that a lot of people find that unconditional love through their love of God and their connection to God. So I might throw in stuff here and there as we go through this section here, but it's definitely something we cannot ignore and something that needs to emphasize, but we're not going to focus on it here. So let's take a look at our parents. So parents are an ideal source, of course, of that unconditional love. Although it is nice if you've received unconditional love from your folks, your parents, and people around you. But we also know that no children ever receive that perfect unconditional love, right, from their parents. So it does no good to waste time begrudging or, being resentful of the love that you didn't receive from the past. But of course, it can impact you and the trauma that, growing up, right? It's really important that when you keep blaming, right, it keeps you stuck in the past, and it contributes to feeling like a helpless victim. When we take a look at ourselves, so if you've not received it from others, you could ask, well, how could I furnish the love that I need to flourish, right? And one can provide this need with love in many ways, and we'll get to that. And then in terms of significant others, the love of significant others, such as friends, partners, relatives, it's intentionally listed as our last resource. Why? Because it is nice to receive love from others, of course, as is with parents, right? We'll never get that unconditional love. There's always some kind of condition, right? The reaction we get from others is more likely to be a reflection of how they feel about themselves than a true reflection of our core worth. So they turn to the others for approval for their core and themselves that lack, and they so desperately want that. So they turn to others, but they don't even have it, right? So they can smother others perhaps and emotionally suck them dry. And so when their insecurity drives people away, the rejection is absolutely devastating. So even if they win the self-esteem of others, this is other esteem, not self-esteem. The esteem of others, of course, is not a substitute for the insecurity of our self-esteem. So it's really important to be first responsible for the source of love that you can depend on, and that is you, right? So let's take a look here at a closer look of understanding reflections of love, which are really important in terms of the premises regarding love, right? So just like worth, love must be unconditional, unshaken by temporary defeats, and independent of these daily evaluations. So in other words, one could say to themselves, even though I am performing poorly, I still love me, right? It also makes you feel like somebody. Like it doesn't define you or provide you with worth. It just helps you realize, support, and appreciate it. So perhaps you've heard the beautiful melody that says, "You're nobody till somebody loves you." Well, with no disrespect towards these, it could be maybe reframed better by saying you're always a somebody, and love rather, helps you know it, right? So it's a foundation for our growth, right? It's reversely rarely true. So producing or overachieving usually does not fulfill that painful void of the lack of love in the core self, right? So it's really important that looking at what that missing inside is, and that something is a genuine feeling of affection for our core self. And this affection is the soil and the climate for that human growth. There's been a lot of authors who've stated that people cannot love others if they don't love themselves, that even genuine, mature love from another cannot turn around self-dislike. So this is an interesting concept because genuine, mature love from others can and does change one's self-concept. It's simply that one cannot always rely on the love of others, right? If we find it and we're fortunate, then there's no guarantee that the other person's love will change our self-dislike. So in return to that one area a person could take full responsibility is that part of ourselves. So some reflections on love before we move on to other concepts is reflecting on these beautiful statements by Mother Teresa and actor Henry Winkler, where they say each individual has been created to love and be loved. There is a hunger greater than the hunger for bread, the hunger for love. Small things with great love. It is not how much we do, but how much we love we put in the doing. It is not how much we give, but how much love we put in the giving. A human's first responsibility is to shake hands with themselves. That's a really great statement. All right, so now that we've understand the basics of the human unconditional human love, let's go on to the next part here, where we take a look at finding love, loving, and healing the core self. So we know that life is not about the pedestals and the power. Life is about that love. And again, with Mother Teresa, who's a prime example of that, each person has been created for that love and to be loved, right? And it is love that really heals, not so much the intellect, although cognition absolutely supports the process. So in the sense, love is the foundation of effective stress management, if you think about it, because it is the foundation of mental health and self-esteem. Stress management is really about managing our lives, right? So it typically teaches skills to help one to cope in the present, but largely ignores the power of healing the past so that we can actually enjoy the present. So recent studies have shown that writing about one's past and present worries generally improves the mood and the immune system. So there's been several theories to explain these results. So some think that putting pent-up worries or traumas on paper, releases and discharges them, providing great relief. And some think that in writing about such concerns, people gain that distance, that objectivity, perspective, and sometimes finding solutions. So there's another reason perhaps to that, because writing about feelings acknowledges and honors those feelings, right? So which are typically disowned and in shame-based people. So for example, people who feel bad to the core. So writing about your feelings is another way of loving yourselves. So don't forget that. Now, how do we look at loving, how love heals that child within us, right? So this is a really important concept to taking a look at how to look at corrective experiences. So correcting experiences which help repair the wound, right? So the author describes about how each within us has this light, a core of peace, wholeness, of goodness, innate worth, and feelings that are good that make us human. So this core being is sometimes metaphorically called the inner child, right? And it possesses in embryo every attribute it needs, plus the inborn tendency to grow and polish those rough edges. So with time, however, or to one degree to another, we separate or split from this inner child. And we understand this process, for example, through abuse, abandonment, criticism, or neglect, right? So with personal fallibilities and choices. And so they lead people to conclude that they are defective and flawed as individuals. They don't believe that they make mistakes, but instead they are the mistake, right? Bad at the core. So this then covers that inner child, right? It rejects it, become disowned, split off, or separated. And this is the root of self-dislike and shame-based behaviors that are common in so many stress-related dysfunctionalities. So the truth is, however, that inner child, even though it's covered, battered, and split off, right? You were once still as you are. And so what we want to take a look at is our goal is to heal and integrate that wholeness and reunion of our present consciousness within our core of our lights. So this cure, again, is love. We may not call it love, for example, through helping professionals, but it is love because it heals and provides that foundation for growth. So although adults operate logically, this core inner child, it hungers for that love, right? It continues to cry out until that hunger is touched. So adults understand this process very well. And if we take a look at parenting styles and stress classes, when the author had asked for the perfect parents, what we see is that there's laughter because everybody jokes around. And if you look at this picture, what we have here on the screen is that people understand that, you know, it's hardly ever that you grow up in such an environment where there's perfection in there of love, right? So it's really interesting to see how this picture right there is, I think, very reflective of this whole section that we're taking a look at. All right. So if we take a look now in terms of understanding this idea, let's take a look at how to repair early wounds through this corrective experience. So can the adult actually heal the hole in the soul, right? If love was in short supply developmentally, and yes, it is. So one approach, for example, from alcoholism and dysfunctional family literature is they use imagery, right? While it emphasizes effect coupled with reason, and some types of research have shown that people who've had that past and, you know, imperfect past and corrective experience can settle the past so that we can actually move ahead. So let's go through how we actually do that. All right. So find the love, and love the core self. So it's a 5-step process where you can find that love of the core self, of your inner child. So first, you write down the names of your most cherished friends, your family members or loved ones, people that you feel good to be around, people who make you feel good, warm, accepted. All right. So first identify couples, then individuals. So you can do this mentally or actually write it down. Number 2, find a place to sit quietly and comfortably where you won't be disturbed for about 15 minutes or so. And 3, take deep, relaxing breaths, saying the word relax as you breathe out. And number 4, imagine yourself as an infant surrounded by these loving people. And these people can be the loving people that you identified, or 2 warm, loving grown-ups, perhaps a male and a female. And then you can imagine perhaps your parents as you would have liked your parents to ideally be. Perhaps you can imagine composite figures of people you have known and loved who made you feel like a person of worth. So, number 5, as an infant, you needed to hear the words as follows. So, imagine yourself actually hearing these statements that we're going to say from a male or female voice of the figures that you're imagining. So, we're so glad you're here. Welcome to the world. Welcome to our family and home. We're so glad who you are. You are beautiful. All our children are beautiful. We want to be near you, to hold you and love you. Sometimes you feel joy and laughter, sometimes sadness and pain and anger and worry. These feelings are all okay for us. With us, rather. We'll be here for you. We'll give you all the time you need to get your needs met. It's okay to wander and separate and explore and experiment. We won't leave you. So imagine these speakers of these words are cradling you, loving you, gently gazing on you with eyes of love as you respond to these feelings. So practice this imagery for about 2 consecutive days, and before you continue on to this next part, which is embracing that loss inner child. So the first part was find and love that core self. And the second part is embracing your inner child. So after doing this for 2 days, you jump to this. Again, finding a nice place to reflect, undisturbed for 15 minutes, relax, focus on your breathing for a few minutes, being mindful of your breathing, aware of the breath that comes in and leaves, and notice the difference in the air as you inhale, and focus on the difference. Now, imagine the following, using masculine or feminine pronouns as appropriate, and then you are walking down a long flight of stairs. Walk down the stairs slowly and count from 10 to 1. When you reach the bottom of the stairs, turn left and walk down a long corridor with doors on your right. I'm just going to add a little bit of sound here because this is something that sounds really good, to have a little bit of music, relaxation music in the background that can be really helpful to get into things as well. What should be a commercial? Of course.
Did you know that resident?
Of course, it's going to be a commercial. So I'm just going to let that run and then turn the sounds on in 1 second. So walk down that corridor with doors on your right and doors on your left, and each door has a colored symbol on it. Now, as we go through this, let's continue. As you look towards the end of the corridor, there's a force field of light. Walk through that light and go back through time to a street where you lived before you were 7 years old. Walk down to that street to the house in which you live. Look at the house. Notice the roof, the color of the house, and the windows and doors, and see a small child come out the front. How is this child dressed? What color are the child's clothes? Shoes. Walk over to the child and tell her that you are from her future. Tell her that you know better than anyone of what she's been through, her suffering, her abandonment, her shame. Tell her that of all the people she will never know, you are the only one she will never lose. Now ask her if she's willing to go home with you. If not, tell her you will visit her tomorrow. If she's willing to go with you, take her by the hand and start walking away. Feel the warmth and joy of that tiny hand and of being with that little person as you walk away. See your mother or your father come out onto the porch. Wave goodbye to them. Look over your shoulder as you continue walking away and see your parents becoming smaller and smaller until they're completely gone. Turn the corner and see your higher power and your most cherished friends waiting for you. Embrace all of your friends and allow your higher power to come into your heart. See them all embracing that child with joy. Embrace your child and feel her warmly embrace you. Hold your child in your hand and let her shrink to the size of your hand. Or embrace the child and feel her absorb into you, filling you with all of her joy, hope, and potential. Tell her that you're placing her in your heart so that you can always carry her with you. Promise her you'll meet her for 5 minutes each day. Pick an exact time and commit to that time. Next, imagine that you walk to some beautiful outdoor place, stand in the middle of that place, and reflect on the experience you just had. Get a sense of communion within yourself and your higher power and with all things. Now look up to the sky. See the purple, blue, white clouds from the number 5. See the 5 become a 4. Be aware of your feet and legs. See the 4 become a 3. Feel the life in your stomach and in your arms. See the 3 become a 2. Feel the life in your hands, your face, and your whole body. Know that you're about to be fully awake, able to do all the things with your fully awake mind. See the 2 become a 1 and be fully awake, remembering this experience. Very powerful, healing that inner child by giving that love and letting them know it's going to be okay. Now, you can also get a photo of yourself and remind you of the child that lives within you. Practice this imagery for 2 days, right? So it's really nice to be able to give that love to yourself and remember, right? That adult children, right, of normal parents' annual convention is rare. It's not something that is actually of existence too much, but it can exist. All right, so let's now take a look at the language of love. This is a very, very powerful tool as well when we take a look at what love is in terms of the language that we use. All right, like I said, I'm just managing a few machines at the same time here while we take a look at this. So when we take a look at the idea of language of love, it's a hugely impacting, very impactful. So again, we're using this book over here to go through it. So loving relationships that are characterized by appreciation, liking, respect, and acceptance. You can see I still have the music on. I'll just lower it a little bit while we speak. Very low. So in healthy relationships, there seems to be the unspoken thoughts of, I realized a long time ago that you are not perfect. Not exactly what I expected. I might laugh with you about some of your preferences, your idiosyncrasies, but you know that underneath the humor is a genuine liking. I'll never speak with contempt or ridicule. This atmosphere of respect, paradoxically, allows people to change and grow. So if they choose to, similarly, an attitude of kindness towards oneself also encourages and sustains growth. So I always tell my students and my clients, you know how you talk to somebody with kindness and love and compassion and you give them time and effort. So imagine if you were to do that for yourself, how that impacts you. And we've seen how a negative internal dialogue can actually sabotage growth, right? And life enjoyment. So the skills that we're going to do right now enforce the decision to think of ourselves realistically and kindly. So you see this picture here of how flowers are seen through our eyes, right? And we see how beautiful they look. But look at how flowers see themselves. That internal dialogue is very reflective of how we see ourselves sometimes. So let's take a look at kind descriptions. So do you think of yourself as competent? Does this question take a look at, competent means perfectly competent? I'm certainly not perfectly competent. So I guess in truth, I must be incompetent. So this example of black and white thinking explains why it's difficult for many people to think well of themselves, right? So it's either incompetent or competent. So perfection and imperfection. And so when we look at it that way, of course, it's very limiting, right? So we always took a look earlier when we took a look at how to rate our behavior, right, without judging ourselves. So here we do a similar way to think that it's accurate and kind. So you've got incompetent 0 and perfect 10, competent in the middle, right, rather than competent as the perfect. So the way of thinking accurately acknowledges the middle ground. And of course, we know nobody is perfect, right? Or completed without flaw. So each person, however, is competent in a relative sense. So at times in unique ways and possessing competence in some incomplete stage of development. So by the standard, we can be considered competent, right? So it's really important to understand that as well. And we take a look at the idea of the loser, perfection, and the winner. And so a failure is a person who's defeated without contributing or learning. So since anyone who's alive and is still learning and capable of contributing, then we can conclude that nobody is at that failure place. So it's really important, again, to understand changing that negative self-talk into a more positive one. So for example, let's take a look at this example here, where we take a look at negative self-talk. So for example, I'll never succeed. If only I would. I'm probably, gonna lose this. I'm so ugly because I'm fat. So changing it, that inner channel, right? Stop. I want to stop right away. And we're gonna change channels by thinking and speaking about ourselves respectfully, right? So I am a teacher or a nurse, not I am just or only. I am an honest, hardworking human being. I find satisfaction in being a therapist, for example, for myself. I am looking to advance. So success is exerting effort and moving in that desired direction, right? Next time I will. What an interesting quirk instead of saying, I hate this about me, right? Or saying something like, I'm going to work on this, or I feel better about myself as I improve. The negative of, I'm probably going to just ruin this, instead of, I'm not afraid to try because my worth comes from within, not on the external. I am fat, I am ugly, to reframing it, stopping and changing it to, I have extra weight. I'm working on this extra weight. So this is a great practice that you can do for a few days. So taking negative statements and reframing them to a more positive language of love, which is very fulfilling if you think about it. I'm already feeling good vibes right now. Hope you are feeling that too. As we jump into the next section of looking at the good opinion of others. And so two main statements when we take a look at this idea here is, just one moment, is these two main core concepts where it takes a look at, that it is appropriate and maybe useful to looking at these ideas. So the love and approval of others do not equal our self-esteem, right? Otherwise it would be called other esteem, not self-esteem. So keep that in mind, other esteem. So love and the approval of others, however, can aid in that growth of self-esteem. So just like we see criticism can damage the self-esteem, right? The love and approval will not necessarily build it. We need our consent. So just like, let me rephrase that. So just like with our permission and our consent, the negative self-talk and from others impact us. So same thing when it takes a look at love and approval of others. It's with our consent. We don't want to discount the preciousness of intimacy. It's just that, again, it's about that self, not other esteem. So this is a really good exercise in our mind when we take a look at this idea of the good opinions of others using this exercise called the circle of differing gifts. So we know that approval and affirming words from others do not necessarily equate that self-esteem. However, allowing the good opinion of others in and examining them can help open our eyes to the truth. So this can help stimulate a realistic, appreciative view of the self that recognizes one's gifts. So it's how we do it. Number one, sit in a circle, 6 to 10 people, but any number can work. And each person has a pencil or a piece of paper. Number two, you write down your name at the top of the sheet in large letters. And number three, on the signal pass, people pass the paper to the person to their right. So the person who receives the paper proceeds to write 3 things that they appreciate about that person. And then entries could include qualities, strengths, attributes, contributions. For example, I like your smile. I like the way you appreciate and draw my attention to the beauty of nature. I appreciate the way you express gratitude, etc., etc. So scatter your comments around the paper so no one knows that who wrote what. And then when everyone has completed the writing the appreciation items, the signal ready, pass along. So each person then passes the sheet to the person on the right. Each person then repeats what we just said. And you continue doing that until all the papers are filled out. So at this point, each person reads the comments about the person on their right. When you be sure, when you are the listener, when you hear all this, that you relax, listen, enjoy, and allow each statement to sink in. Give people credit for exercising good judgment regarding their comments about you. And do not discount compliments with degrading self-talk. Yes, but if they only knew the truth. Oh, they're just being polite. I really snowed them, for example, So such comments comes, again, stop, and then change the channel like we just did earlier. And then say, I'll allow for the possibility that there's some truth to these comments. So this is a wonderful exercise for people of all ages. And it's a wonderful activity for families, and comments such as, oh, I never knew people thought these things could occur. So it's a really great exercise to do. And, keep these papers after for references for yourself when you need a little bit of an emotional lift, a reminder of your strength. All right, let's move on to this idea here. They always talk about in terms of, you would never be hurtful or mean to other people deliberately when they come to you for an issue or need your help or something, right? So why is it that we are so hurtful and mean to ourselves? Why? It's okay to hurt ourselves. So the love and support that you would give to somebody else who's in need, imagine again, as we summarize this section, how it would feel if you give it to yourself. So it's time to give back to yourself. You could do that with a lovely hug for yourself. All right, let's move on. There's a lot to cover here when it comes to love, but I just want some feedback for those who are watching. How are you feeling so far? Oh, there's lots of comments and inappropriate comments as well. Let's just get rid of those comments. So some people are saying here how it reminds them of the talk when they went to college and they talked about God is the only one that can love unconditionally. Even our mother's love can be conditional because she's human. Absolutely. Absolutely. It's a great comment. So far, how's everybody feeling? Are you feeling the positive vibes? I'm feeling a lot of love already as we get into this in terms of giving love to ourselves and growing from that. All right. So the next part, like we said, we're going to take a look at acknowledging and accepting positive qualities. And this is really challenging sometimes because it's really hard to accept from others these qualities, right? It's hard to hear from other people the type of feedback you could say, right? So it's really important for this exercise that we're going to do right now. Sorry, just one moment. Let me see where I am because there's a lot here. It's hard to take in what people are saying about themselves, like we said earlier, to believe, is it really true what they're saying about us, right? So there is a time to acknowledge, let's say, some shortcomings and weaknesses. And when we don't do that, is where self-esteem self-esteem struggles. So this practice here of taking a look at, of acknowledging and reinforcing strengths with appreciation helps, doing this in a loving way to build ourselves. So this is a skill based on the research of 3 Canadians, Gauthier, Pellerin, and Renaud, whose method enhanced self-esteem subjects in just a few weeks. So to warm up, what we're going to take a look at is we're going to take a look at some of these character traits here. Okay, just going to go on to the next slide here. There we go. All right. So while we take a look at these, place a check if sometimes you are or have been reasonably, for example, clean, handy, literate, gentle, cheerful, generous, energetic, expressive, adventurous. Okay, so just tick off there and check words describing what you are sometimes reasonably good at. So being a helper, follower, debater, a learner, risk taker, thinker, an example, a friend, or a socializer, right? So perfection is not required to check these items, since nobody really does any of these things all of the time or perfectly. But if you checked off a few of these to maintain reasonable sanity in a very complex world, high five, good for you. Remember, this was just a warm up. Now let's get into how we can actually effectively impact and build our self-esteem. So number one, in this cognitive rehearsal, what we want to take a look at, our next slide, is 10 statements that make you based on character and personality traits, right? So what we want to take a look at is develop these lists here that are meaningful and realistic. And you may develop the statements from the list that we're going to take a look at here. So so for example, we chose I'm clean, orderly, right? Or I'm a loyal, responsible member. I'm a concerned listener. So if you mention a role that you perform well, try to add a specific personal characteristic that can explain why. So for example, instead of saying that one is a good soccer player, for example, you could say, that this person sizes up situations pretty quickly and reacts decisively. So it's almost like the same meaning, right? So roles can change, right? But the character, this person may break a leg and not play anymore, but their character and personality traits can be expressed across many different roles. So then what we want to do is write down the 10 positive statements, okay? And find a place to relax, undisturbed, right? And for 20 minutes, meditate on the statements. Okay, and repeat this for each statement. So repeat this exercise every day for 10 days. And each day add an additional statement in that space. And then so several times a day, look at that item on that list. And for about 2 minutes, meditate on the evidence of its accuracy. Okay, so for example, you can write them on an index card, the statements, and just do this, like we said, practice it for about 10 days, 2 minutes each, carry them around with you or put them on your phone, right? So what this will help you do potentially is look at yourself and say, hey, I am not so bad after all. I got better with practice. I didn't believe the statements at first. Then I found myself smiling on the way to work or school. I feel motivated to act upon them. I feel peaceful. I learned I have a lot more good than I give myself credit for. All right. So there's a lot to cover in this one slide that I'm going to take time looking into each of them before we do the reinforcing and strengthening of the body appreciation meditation, which will take a good chunk of time. So let's go through some of these right now. So in terms of cultivating our body appreciation, so it's somewhat of a meditation. I'm just going to see here when I want to do this. I'll just do this part and then we will do the actual meditation at the end. So I want you to look at your body in this sense. Body is an external. It's not the core. Our bodies do not equal our core worth. However, the body is a metaphor for that core. And in that way, we experience the body, how we experience the body is often similar to the way we experience our core selves, right? So the body, for example, is one way we can receive and experience love. Consider the feeling of a hug or a gentle touch from someone who genuinely cares. The feeling that the body senses is also perceived by the inner core. So if one views the body in the mirror with appreciation, it's easier to experience the core in a similar way. A respectful, caring attitude towards the body, reflected in sensible health practices, tends to positively influence one's feelings towards one core self. So this is quite a powerful statement, but a lot of people don't tend to look at their bodies like that, right? There's so much self-dislike with our body image, right? So this activity really helps us understand that. So through mistreatment or ridiculing of our body and shaming ourselves, it affects the core, right? So one thinks, I would appreciate my body if I didn't have that blemish or that wrinkle or that extra weight. So you really are harsh on yourselves like that by putting conditions on the self. So if you're hard on your physical imperfections, you are most likely going to be unkind to that core self. So no matter how negatively one has come to view their body or how negatively it's been treated, the inner core is still intact. And it is responsive, this is the hopeful part, to healing, refreshing, and restorative love. So if we cultivate this appreciation for our body, it becomes easier to experience the core self more kindly. So this will help us cultivate a wholesome appreciation for the body, no matter what its present condition is. And although some in the world may have transmitted X-rated critical messages about your body, everyone can learn or relearn to experience the body positively. So let's listen to the magnificence of the body. I'm going to turn up the sound a little bit. I'd like you to sit back in a relaxing manner to appreciate the words here of what we are talking about when it comes to our body appreciation. So this, following a distinguished career of Russell Nelson, who's a heart surgeon, he has suggested this. So consider the magnificent sights you have seen. For example, a majestic mountain, a powerful horse, gracefully galloping across a green meadow, like a skyscraper. Now consider the magnificence of the body, right, that you see in the mirror. Ignoring any imperfections for the moment, the word magnificent derives from two Latin words, magni, which means great, and facere means to make. Thus, magnificent or greatly made. It applies well to the human body. So let's begin to appreciate some of the wonders in the treasure chest that is the human body. From conception to maturity. So, at conception, the sperm and egg combine in a way that is only partially understood. From this union is formed a single cell that will multiply countless times according to a unique, unmatchable genetic code that is inherited, the sum of all of one's ancestors. The cells multiply according to this genetic code, consisting of 6 billion steps of DNA, though it could stretch to the length of the adult body. This genetic code is coiled within each cell's nucleus to the length of only 1/25 of an inch. Soon after conception, cells are producing over 50,000 proteins needed for life. Although each cell contains the same genetic blueprint for the body and could turn into any kind of cell in the body, cells specialize by activating and repressing certain genes. Thus, some cells become cells of the eye, others become heart cells, others become needed blood vessels or nerves that appear in their proper places at the proper times. Over the course of a lifetime, the cells of the body will manufacture 5 tons of protein. Each day, the mature body produces 300 billion cells to maintain the body's total of 75 trillion cells. Placed end to end, the cells of the body would stretch 1,180,000 miles. That is magnificent. Your circulatory system now. The heart brings life to every cell. Weighing only 11 ounces, this magnificent muscle tirelessly pumps 3,000 gallons of blood each day, beating 2.5 billion times over the course of a lifetime, a pace that would tire other muscles in minutes. The heart actually in two pumps side by side. One propels blood forcefully enough to circulate through the body's 75,000 miles of blood vessels. The other sends blood to the lungs so gently that it does not damage the delicate air sacs there. When separated, cells of the heart beat with different rhythms. Together, however, they beat with the unison and synchrony of an exquisite symphony orchestra. Technology cannot duplicate the heart's durability. The force of blood hurled against the aorta would quickly damage rigid metal pipes, while the flexible, tissue-thin valve of the heart are sturdier than any man-made material. That is magnificent. The amazing skeletal system. The 206 bones in the body are ounce for ounce stronger than solid steel or reinforced concrete. Unlike these man-made materials, they become denser and stronger with weightlifting. 68 constantly lubricated joints allow for incredible continual movement. For example, the 33 vertebrae of the spine, supported by 400 muscles and 1,000 ligaments, permit an infinite variety of head and body positions. Or consider the vast capacities of the hand to powerfully turn the lid of a jar or delicately remove a splinter. For durability, precision, and complexity, science cannot duplicate the thumb, whose rotation requires thousands of messages from the brain. The hand will tirelessly extend and flex the joints of the fingers 25 million times over a lifetime. In incredibly efficient utilization of space, The marrow of the bones will manufacture 2.5 million red blood cells each second, replenishing a supply of 25 trillion red blood cells, which laid end to end would reach 31,000 miles into the sky. Also reflect on the role of the body's 650 muscles. A simple step takes 200 muscles. 40 leg muscles lift the leg, while muscles in the back maintain balance and abdominal muscles keep you from falling backwards. That is incredibly magnificent. Sensing the world, sip a refreshing drink. You smell foods, cooking. You hear the sounds of people in animated conversation. You see multicolored flowers, people strolling. Clouds are lazily rolling. You feel the wind on your face. In less than a blink of an eye, complicated neural, circulatory, and countless signals in the brain allow you to sense the world around you. Let's consider the wonder of these capacities. The eyes, ears, nose are truly marvels. When you look at yourself in the mirror, you see in 3 dimensions through the image. It's entirely flat, right? Now, constant movement of the eyes, equivalent to walking 50 miles a day, and tells in millions of receptors in the retina that perform billions of calculations each second, make the eye more sensitive and priceless than any camera. Unlike the camera, the eyes are self-cleansing. Conversation displaces the eardrum, a distance equal to the diameter of a hydrogen atom. Yet the exquisitely sensitive ears enable us to distinguish individual voices and turn towards the source of sound. In addition, the ears inform the brain of the slightest postural imbalance. Compressed into an area smaller than a postage stamp. Each nostril has 10 million receptors for odors, enabling the brain to distinguish and remember up to 10,000 different scents. Now, could you imagine a finer covering for the body than the skin? Under the average square centimeter, the size of a little finger's nail, are hundreds of nerve endings that detect touch, temperature, pain, not to mention 100 sweat glands to cool the numerous melanocytes to protect from the sun's rays. Magnificent are our senses indeed. The remarkable defenses of our body. Each moment, our body defends against an army of potent invaders with a defense system that is more sophisticated than any nation's. The skin forms the first line of protection. Its salty acidic makeup kills many microbes and keeps many other impurities from entering the body. Each day we inhale 17,000 pints of air, the equivalent of a small roomful of air containing 20 billion foreign particles. The nose, airways, and lungs constitute a remarkable self-contained air conditioning and humidifying system. Lysozyme in the nose and throat destroy most bacteria and viruses. Mucus traps, particles in the airway, and millions of tiny hairs called the cilia vigorously sweep mucus back to the throat for swallowing. Powerful acid in the stomach neutralizes potent microbes, which is why a child can drink water from a puddle and usually remain healthy. In the nose, incoming air is conditioned to a constant 75 to 80% humidity. On cold days, additional blood is sent to the nose to warm the air. Those microbes that evade destruction trigger a most remarkable flurry of activity. Billions of white cells relentlessly ingest or slay invaders that have entered the body. Other cells of the immune system multiply and summon antibody-producing cells. 1 million different antibodies can be produced, each specific to a single microbe. When needed, white cells can trigger fever that help to defeat invaders and shut down fever when the battle is over. The lessons of the battle are preserved, and as the immune system remembers the invader, and the way to defend against it in the future. Near the digestive tract, which absorbs needed nutrients, is the liver. In addition to 500 other vital processes, the vital organ possesses all nutrients absorbed by the intestines and neutralizes toxins. For example, in the 8 seconds it takes for blood to flow through it, the liver greatly detoxifies caffeine or nicotine, which could be deadly if sent directly to the heart. Did you know that? The body's wisdom. Overseeing the myriad complexities of the body is the brain, weighing but 3 pounds and containing 1 billion nerve cells. This organ makes even the finest computers seem crude by comparison. Each nerve cell can connect with thousands of others, each in turn connecting to thousands more. The flexibility, the complexity, and potential of the brain is truly awe-inspiring. The brain, for example, keeps the interior of the body remarkably constant to preserve life. If a person is living in the desert in 120-degree weather, the brain detects more blood to the skin to release heat and increases perspiration. In the Arctic, blood is diverted from the skin to the critical internal organs, while shivering generates heat. If a person bleeds, water is pulled from the tissue into the blood vessels, and non-essential blood vessels constrict to keep blood pressure adequate, while maintaining internal equilibrium. The brain also makes decisions, solves problems, dreams, retrieves stored memories, recognizes faces, and affords unlimited capacity for wisdom and personality. Our other wonders of our body. Consider how the body converts the grain of a wheat once waving in the field to the energy expended by the wave of our hand, or to living tissue, first by complex series of transformations in the digestive tract, and then by even more complex transformations in the cell. Appreciate for a moment the 300 million alveoli, or air sacs, in the lungs, which exchange oxygen from the air that we breathe for carbon dioxide from the body's cell. Spread flat, these alveoli would almost cover a tennis court. Ponder the body's ability to repair itself. Unlike a table leg or a pipe, bones, blood vessels, skin, and other parts of the body can self-repair. Many organs have a backup system: 2 eyes, 2 kidneys, 2 lungs. The single vital liver, however, has an extraordinary capacity for regeneration. It will function if 80% is destroyed or cut away, and can rebuild itself in just a few months to its original size. Contemplation of the complexities and magnificence of the body certainly helps us to regard our bodies with that appreciation. Now let's turn to an exercise at the end to help us experience our bodies with that wholesome appreciation. This was actually incredibly quite beautiful. I just can't get over how incredible our bodies are. So this is a little bit of taste when we do our final meditation near the end. But let's take a look a little bit now, a little bit of a break before we fall asleep from relaxation, is looking at asserting self-love and appreciation. So this is a similar activity that we've done before when we take a look at taking our negative comments, and looking at the statement of even though, nevertheless. Change again. There we go. So let's look at the core self again and remember that the premise of the unconditional love is necessary for mental health and for growth. So unconditional means that we choose to love even though there are imperfections that we could wish otherwise. So let's take 2 people who are overweight. One person, I'm fat, I hate myself. The other person says, I'm really glad inside to be me. I'd feel better and enjoy life even more if I lost some of this fat. Notice the difference in emotional tones between these 2 people. Which one is more likely to adhere in an eating and exercise plan, let's say, to get healthier? Which one's more likely to arrive at the desired weight without being emotionally distraught, right? So remember when we did the acknowledging reality nevertheless before? Here are these two concepts again: acknowledging unpleasant external conditions without condemning our core self. And the second part is people who dislike the self tend to use because, the word because, and therefore thought. So because I am fat, therefore I hate myself. This type of thinking erodes our self-esteem. Third part here we want to take a look at is the nevertheless scale. What happens in this scale? It provides a realistic, upbeat, immediate response to unpleasant externals, right? Which reinforces our sense of worth by separating worth from externals. So let's take a look at that. Even though, nevertheless. So let's do this example. Even though I'm overweight, nevertheless, I love me. I assure I love myself. Deep down, I'm really glad to be me. Deep down, I like and appreciate me. So you can do this with somebody or with yourself, right? So we can take negative statements and practice with that. So you want to practice this for the next few days, right? So even though a situation occurs where it's potentially attacking your core worth, you can say even though statements and then replace it with a nevertheless. This type of exercise allows you to experience challenging events with unconditional love, right? Like we said, love is experienced as a feeling here, and try to state each statement with emotion towards yourself. You can raise your chin a little bit and place a pleasant expression on your face as you do this, right? It's an attitude of wellness that you wish for yourself at each moment, and it is a decision that we make each day. This is the essence of our commitment, because this commitment now is intentional to giving ourselves that love. Now, practice this over the next few days. Let's take a look next at the eyes of love meditation. So I'm going to bring up the sound a little bit again. And this is a really powerful exercise to help us experience yourself joyfully and with appreciation. So again, find a nice quiet place to relax, either laying down or seated for about 10 minutes. And once you've settled in, imagine you are sitting in the presence of a very trusted and very loving being, perhaps a dear friend, a loving family member, even God. This being sees you realistically and very lovingly. Imagine that you can see yourself through this being's eyes, the eyes of love. What is there to appreciate? Look thoroughly. Is there something pleasing or attractive physically? Notice all pleasing personality or character traits such as intelligence, brightness, insightfulness, laughter, humor, integrity, peacefulness, good taste, or patience. Recognize all talents and skills. Note the appearance beyond pure physical attributes such as the countenance, expression, or smile. Behold yourself through the eyes of love and appreciation, and enjoy the experience for a few moments. Now, reassociate back into your own body. Feel all of those feelings of love and appreciation from this loving being, and feel warm, happy, at ease, secure, and say to yourself silently, I am lovable. And feel those feelings of love and appreciation growing and flourishing inside of you. Now, our second last exercise is liking the face in the mirror, essentially looking into your soul. It's one of the most powerful exercises that we're going to be doing in this series. And it's about looking at your worth. Some people will reply, I'm worth $15 an hour. That's what my boss pays me. I'm not worth anything. If you don't believe me, just ask my partner, my family, whoever. I'm not worth anything except for the morale of the troops. So as we've discussed before, we can't put a finite value on the worth of an individual. Do we do it? Of course, we do it all the time. We reduce a person to a salary, an insurance policy, a rank or position, talent, or what we can take from them. So let's repeat here this basic tenet. Each person is of infinite, unchanging, and equal worth. So have you ever taken a long time looking into your own eyes and seeing the core worth self Have you ever done that? Right? It is such a powerful statement. It's such a powerful exercise to be able to look into your own eyes and see your core worth. And you can learn to like yourself this way. It might take some practice, but this skill could change the way that you look and think about mirrors. So the way that people view you may be distorted by the way that they see themselves, right? However, a mirror reflects an image quite accurately. So when you view yourself in the mirror, your attention might be drawn to your appearance, your clothes, your hair, blemishes, or other externals. In this exercise, however, you'll see yourself differently, perhaps differently than you've ever seen before. So let's do it. So sit down again in that relaxed manner. Take in those few deep breaths and get that mirror, of course, have that mirror ready there. And as we begin, just mindfully breathe. Notice your breath in and out again. And we're going to practice this again over the next few days, right? So get that mirror ready and have it ready for each day where you look into your eyes in the mirror with the eyes of love. And as you look, you might first notice that there's stress perhaps around your eyes. Look with real understanding and emotion and try to understand what's behind the stress and let it outside, rather subside. As you look deeply with love, you will notice a change in your eyes here and in your countenance. Repeat this exercise often, and you can use the car mirror, makeup mirror, wherever you see a mirror. Right? Over time, this exercise will allow a very wholesome and good feeling to take root and grow. And as you look into your eyes and see the core self, appearances and externals come to assume their correct secondary importance. You might notice that you begin to look forward to and enjoy looking into the mirror in your eyes instead of dreading it, because your focus is now on what is the infinite worth of the core, which you see with worth, that soul. Very, very powerful exercise. And now, as we wrap up, I'd like to do this beautiful reinforcing and strengthening of our body meditation. I'm going to increase the sound here, and this will take a little bit of time to do, but it is so powerful, very powerful, to appreciate the magnificence and appreciating yourself from externally to internally. And I'm feeling so much love and vibes right now. I hope that you're feeling that too, as we come to the ending of our second workshop, where now we're going to finish up by cultivating the magnificence of our body with this beautiful reinforcing and strengthening of our body appreciation. So this was developed by a well-known teacher of self-esteem, Jack Canfield, and it's a very effective way to reinforce the habit of experiencing the body with appreciation. It takes about half an hour, but I'm going to do it much faster than that. You can read it slowly or have somebody else read it to you in a quiet place where you'll be undisturbed. Try to do this for the next few days. So I'm going to do it fast. And let's get started. Welcome. Find a comfortable position. Either sitting up in a chair or laying down on your back on the floor or bed. Take a moment to get comfortable, become aware of your body. You may wish to stretch various parts of your body, your arms, your legs, your neck, or your back, just to heighten your awareness of your body. Now begin to take a few deep, longer, slower breaths, inhaling through your nose and inhaling through your mouth. And if you're able to do that, and continue the long, slow, rhythmic breathing. Now let's take a few moments to focus and appreciate your body. Feel the air coming in and out of your lungs, bringing life energy. Be aware that your lungs go on breathing even when you are not aware of them. Breathing in and out, and all day long, all night, even when you sleep. continue with that breathing in and out. Be aware that your lungs go on breathing even when you are not aware of them. Breathing in and out all day and all night long. When you sleep, breathing in oxygen, breathing in fresh air, breathing out waste products. Cleansing and restoring the entire body, a constant inflow and outflow of air, just like the ocean, like the tide coming in and out. And so now, send a beautiful radiant white light and love to your lungs, and realize that since you took your first breath, your lungs have been there for you. No matter what we do, they still keep breathing in and out all day long. Now become aware of your diaphragm. The muscles below your lungs goes up and down, and continuously allow your lungs to breathe. And just send light and love to your diaphragm. Now become aware of your heart. Feel it and appreciate it. Your heart is a living miracle. It keeps beating ceaselessly, never asking for anything. A tireless muscle that continues to constantly serve you, sending life-giving nutrients throughout your body to every cell. What a beautiful and powerful instrument. Day in and out, your heart has been beating, and so see your heart surrounded by white light and warmth, and say silently, I love you and appreciate you to your heart. Become aware now of your blood, which is pumped through your heart. It is the river of life for your body. Millions upon millions of blood cells, anticoagulants, antibodies flowing through your bloodstream, fighting off disease, providing with immunity and healing, bringing oxygen from your lungs to every cell in your body, all the way down to your toes and up into your hair. Feel that blood moving through your veins and arteries, and surround all of these veins and arteries with white light. See it dancing in the bloodstream as if it were bringing joy and love to each cell. And now, become aware of your chest and rib cage. You can feel it rising and falling with your breathing. The rib cage that protects all of the organs in your body, protects your heart and your lungs, keeping them safe. So let yourself send love and light to those bones that make up your rib cage. And then become aware of your stomach and your intestines and your kidneys and your liver, all of the organs of your body that bring in food and digest and provide the nutrients for your body. Balancing and purifying your blood, your kidneys, your whole body. See, from neck down to your waist, surrounded and filled with white light. Next, become aware of your legs. Your legs that allow you to walk and to run and to dance and to jump, that allow you to stand up into the world, to move forward and to run and to make yourself breathless with exhilaration. Allow yourself to appreciate your legs and to feel them surrounded with white light. And see all the muscles and bones in your legs filled with that light, and say to your legs, I love you, legs, and I appreciate all the work that you've done. And then become aware of your feet. They let you stay balanced as you go through the world. They allow you to climb and to run, and they support you every day. And so thank your feet for being there and supporting you. Then become aware of your arms. Your arms are miracles too. And your hands. Think of all the things you're able to do because of your hands and your arms. You can write, you can type, you can reach out and touch things. You can pick things up and use them. You can bring food to your mouth. You can put things away that you don't want. You can scratch, you can itch, you can turn the pages of a book. You can cook food, drive your car, give somebody a massage, tickle someone, defend yourself, give somebody a hug. You can reach out and make contact with your world and with others. So see your arms and your hands surrounded with light. and send them your love. And allow yourself to feel gratitude for having a body, one that you can use every day, to have the experiences you want to have. To have these experiences you want, that you need to grow and that you can learn from. Then become aware of your spine, which allows you to stand up straight and provides a structure for your whole body. Provides protection for your nerves that go from your brain down to your spine and out to the rest of your body. See a golden light floating up your spine, from the base of your spine, your pelvis, floating up one vertebra at a time, moving up your spine, all the way up to your neck, to the top of your spine where your skull connects, and let that golden light flow up to your brain. And become aware of your vocal cords in your neck. They allow you to speak, to be heard, to communicate, to be understood, and to sing and to chant and to pray and to shout and yell with delight and excitement, to express your feelings and to cry and to share your deepest thoughts in your dreams. Then become aware of the left side of your brain, the part of your brain that analyzes and computes, that solves problems and plans for the future, that calculates and reasons and deducts and inducts. Just allow yourself to appreciate what your intellect provides for you, and see the left side of your brain totally filled with golden and white light and shimmering little stars, and see that white light cleanse and awaken and love and nurture that part of your brain. And then let that light begin to flow across the bridge from the left side of your brain to the right side of your brain, the part of your brain that allows you to feel, to have emotions, the right side of your brain, to be intuitive, to dream, and to visualize, to create and talk to your higher wisdom, the part of your brain that allows you to write poetry and to draw, to sing, to create, to appreciate art and music. See that side of your brain filled with white and golden light. Then sense that light flowing down the nerves into your eyes. And see and feel your eyes filled with that light. And realize the beauty that your eyes allow you to perceive. The flowers and the sunsets and the beautiful people and souls, all the things that you've been able to appreciate through your eyes. And then become aware of your nose. It allows you to smell and breathe and to taste all the wonderful tastes and smells in your life. The beautiful fragrances of flowers and essence of all the foods that you love to eat. Now become aware of your ears, as they allow you to hear music, to listen to the wind, the sound of the surf at the ocean, and becoming aware again and again of your ears. Allow you to hear music and listen to the wind, the sound of the surf at the ocean, and the singing of birds, and listen to the words, I love you, I love you, and to be in discussions, to listen to the ideas of another, to allow understanding to come forward. And now, feel every part of yourself from head to toe, surrounded and filled with your own love, your own light. And now take a moment and allow yourself to apologize to your body for anything that you may have done to it, for the times you were not kind to it, for the times you didn't care for it with love, for the times that you didn't listen to it, for the times you put too much food, alcohol, or drugs, for the times you were too busy to eat, busy to exercise, and for all the times you wanted your body to be hugged and touched and you held back. Once again, feel your body and surround yourself with light. And now let that light begin to expand out from your body, out into the world, expanding out, filling the space around you. Now begin to bring that light slowly back into yourself, very slowly back into your body, into yourself, and experience yourself here and now, full of light, full of love, and appreciation for your body. And when you're ready, perhaps you begin to let yourself stretch and feel the awareness and aliveness back in your body. And when you're ready, you can slowly begin to sit up and readjust to being in the room, and just let your eyes open, taking as much time as you need to make that transition. This truly has to be one of the most powerful meditations that I have come across in my work as a therapist over the years. And when practicing this with my clients, I've always seen the positivity of how it has impacted them in such a powerful way, as it cultivates that appreciation for a body that we don't truly appreciate because we're so hard on ourselves and the externals. Whereas this teaches us to appreciate ourselves internally in such an incredible way that you cannot help but see the magnificence of our body that is created, that is evolved, and that we can appreciate daily, truly. Of course, it can be hard to do this every single day, but definitely we can do this body love appreciation on a regular basis so that we can reinforce ourselves. And it comes from us. And if we don't do it, who else is going to do it, right? You can definitely practice this with other people around you, with you, and perhaps listening to this again, since it's going to be recorded and saved for you. So I highly recommend over the next few days, practice this mindful meditation of love and body appreciation, as it can really, really empower you in terms of just appreciate the magnificence that we have inside of our bodies. And finally, to wrap up, let's take a look at all that we have covered in today's session by looking at basics of unconditional love that we took a look at. We looked at finding, loving, and healing that core self with our inner child. We looked at the language of love, so if you remember the flowers, the good opinion of others and how we take from them and not take, acknowledging and accepting our positive qualities, cultivating that body appreciation. We looked at asserting self-love and appreciation. We looked at the eyes of love meditation, looking into our souls, liking the face in the mirror. And finally, we concluded with reinforcing and strengthening our bodies through this amazing appreciation that is pretty powerful. Thank you so much for joining us today, and then join us again for the next part next week on growth and how growth impacts and empowers our self-esteem. Our first building block was looking at core worth. Today we took a look at love, and I hope you're all feeling the vibes of what we've looked at today, so that we can build the next building block of growth so we can balance self-esteem. I'd love to hear from you. If you have any comments, if you'd like to share any of your thoughts, if you want to learn more about this book, pop me a message or an email. I'd be more than happy to send you the information. Again, thank you very much for joining us today. Stay tuned for our next session coming up. Dates are on the poster. They'll be up right here. Thank you very much, and have a wonderful, blessed